if Texas doesn't win the Big 12 title, let's say they don't win the Big 12 title, but they win a New Year's Six bowl game, is that a failure of a season? Now, I throw that caveat of a New Year's Six bowl win in there because I think that is probably important to consider as a possibility for Texas. But would it be a failure of a season? Because listen, I mean, Steve Sarkisian and Texas, that they have been very, very open about it. It's, SEC next year. That's the deal. That's the reality. We're all on the same page here. Someone asked him yesterday, I keep saying SEC Media Days. Someone asked Steve Sarkisian at Big 12 Media Days yesterday, will it be awkward at all with y'all leaving to the SEC next year? And I love it. This is why I love Media Days. He just says, it's not going to be awkward for us. I can't speak for other people, but it won't be awkward for us. Everybody's gunning for Texas this year. Texas, in most people's mind, yours truly included, is probably the favorite to win the Big 12 from a roster standpoint. So we'll kind of just narrow down this question. If they don't win the Big 12, is that a failure of a season? Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you follow me on the socials. Make sure you like the video. Thank you in advance for that. All right, here we go now. The mission for Texas is very, very clear to answer this question. The mission is clear. The mission is win the Big 12. Okay? No way around it. You've built to a point like this, and if you're a Texas fan, you have every right, in my opinion, to expect Big 12 title results. Because, just look at what they have here. To start, you're Texas, and some people just kind of threw up in their mouth a little bit from me saying that. Let me finish. You're Texas in the sense that not just the logo, but in how much you invest. You have the biggest budget in college football last time I checked. You have the resources and the commitment from an administration, from a booster standpoint. There's a lot put into Texas. And so when you put something in, you expect something out. How much have we talked about that? You have a returning quarterback who's got first-round buzz around him. And Steve Sarkisian said as much yesterday. He's like, yeah, if we do what we're supposed to do, Quinn Ewers being a first-round quarterback, he probably should be one of those guys. He wouldn't just say that. I don't think you put that kind of pressure on your quarterback without feeling some level of confidence that he can make good on that. Okay, so Quinn Ewers, I think, is absolutely a big reason why you feel confident that a Big 12 title is in reach. On top of that, you have a really ideal roster setup. Whole offensive line is back. Got to have the big boys now to run the way that Steve Sarkisian wants to run. You got a bunch of weapons, like just an embarrassment of riches with who you have catching the football for you. Jatavian Sanders, probably the best tight end in the Big 12. Xavier Worthy, I think is very reasonable to say could be the best wide receiver in the Big 12 if he does what he's capable of doing. Like, you know the list here. A.D. Mitchell, Isaiah Nayor, we go down the line here. You got some dudes that can go catch the rock for you. I think they have a stable in the backfield as well. C.J. Baxter, I think, could be that guy for you to have a big season at the running back position. I think it'll be by committee. Bottom line, the roster itself on the offensive side of the ball, and then defensively too, you have decent production coming back. You have right around 60+% production back on defense from a defense that only allowed 22 points a game last year. So the roster itself is set up in a good spot as well. And then the culture. Everyone loves to talk about the culture in Austin and what it isn't doing and the things they don't have. Like, now you're in year 3 of that culture. So what it looks like, we'll see. But all the buzz around it so far from people within On3 and Steve Sarkisian himself has been really, really positive. At year 3, you should have your culture in place. If you don't, whole nother conversation. Probably got some other issues, but the culture is in a place where you probably feel good about it. But the Big 12 itself, too, another reason why you feel confident. It's a pretty favorable setup for Texas. Oklahoma, ton of question marks there. Probably the second best roster after Texas. TCU played in the college football playoff last year, played for a national title last year. They bring back virtually nobody offensively. Who knows what Kansas State's going to be without Deuce Vaughn? You look all around you, and there's so much pointing to, okay, this could be the year for Texas. This could be the chance for us to win the Big 12 right before we throw up the deuces and bounce to the SEC. So if I'm Texas, this is the expectation. This is the mission. No ifs, ands, or buts. That is the mission. Okay? So it's fair to expect, but is it a failure of a season? And I sprinkle in the New Year's Six bowl victory conversation because I think that is something we have to consider for Texas. Is it a failure if that happens and you don't win the Big 12? I think it's all about how you look at it. I'll walk you through that one more time. Let's walk through it together one more time, rather. Texas is, let's say they are 11-1. 11-1, headed to Jerry World, and they play a just all-out brawl of a game in the Big 12 title against Oklahoma. And Texas fans are going to hate the situation. Back and forth all game. You lose on the final play. Oklahoma kicks a field goal to win the Big 12 title. It stings. It hurts. 11-2 on the year. And you look up and say, okay, well, good news is got a chance to go play someone in the Cotton Bowl. Chance to play someone really good in the Cotton Bowl. All right? Let's say you play Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. All right? Let's say you got Texas and you got Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl, and we're fired up. It's going to be a great matchup. 2 top 10 teams. Let's get after it. Then you win the Cotton Bowl. You beat Ohio State, or you beat whoever it is in the Cotton Bowl. Is that a failure of a season? Is that a failure of a season? Because Texas, keep in mind now, what would that mean if they were to have a year like that? What would that mean? It would mean that Quinn Ewers reached or was very close to reaching his potential. It means that culture was probably in a spot to where it is no longer the Texas cultures of years past, the ghosts of Christmas past. That's gone now. It also means that you won double-digit games, like we just talked about. 10, 11 wins. We'll take that to the bank. We're cool with that. Because Texas hasn't won more than 8 games since 2018. Since 2018, they haven't won more than 8 games. And you're telling me we get 10, 11 wins? And that's a failure? And we beat Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl? We beat any other team in the Cotton Bowl? Like, I don't know how you label that a failure. For me personally, it would be very difficult to call that a failure. Rewind the tape a little bit. Same kind of situation happened now. Remember this? Sam Ehlinger in Texas losing the Big 12 title game, go play Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. And Texas just did whatever they wanted against Georgia that day. I mean, to be real, Bevo had a good time. It was a good deal for Texas that day. Remember, lost the Big 12. Remember that. Sam Ehlinger gets on the mic and says, we're back. Now, I know Texas fans cringe a little bit at that because what happened afterwards wasn't what Texas fans were hoping for. But remember how you felt in that moment? It didn't feel like a failure of a season. It felt like Texas was back. I was watching the game on the couch with one of my best friends, and we both were like, yeah, this kind of feels like they're back, dude. Kind of feels like the Longhorns are here to stay. Didn't feel like a failure. And so to put myself in that exact same situation for Texas, it'd be hard for me to label it a failure. Zoom it out a little bit. We're probably having the same questions about Texas this time next year that we would if they don't win the Big 12, right? Let's say they win the Big 12 or they don't. We're having the same conversation. And the conversation is, well, how do they stack up in the SEC? Well, sure, you feel better if you win the Big 12. Sure, you feel better if you make the college football playoff. Does that change the questions we're asking, though? People are still going to say, can they do it against Georgia? Can they do it against Bama? Can they do it against LSU? We'll find out. We're going to get there. It's going to be a heck of a time, man. I've already told you my feelings on that. It's going to be a real good time watching Texas play in the SEC. Those matchups are going to be fire. Cannot wait for that. But the questions are going to be the questions either way. So for Texas, here's what I think is a successful season. Here's what I believe you can go ahead and pencil in, for me at least, as a success for Texas. The first is at least 10 wins. Haven't won more than 8 since 2018. Yeah, a 2-win improvement, that would be a success to me. That'd be a testament to what Steve Sarkisian has done since he's been there, and I think that would be a phenomenal step in the right direction. I don't think that's a failure. A Big 12 title appearance. Okay? If you win it or not, and you win double-digit games, hey, I'm standing back here. I'm not going to go ahead and say it's a failure. You got to at least be in the dance because the roster is too good. The expectations are too high. The investment is too great. I think Quinn Ewers is too good. They have too much there to not at least play for a Big 12 title. Just get in the building in Jerry World. Just let us in the building and let's roll. Like, that's my attitude if I'm a Texas fan. I can't have any Bueller moments. You know what I'm saying here? I can't have any games where we sit down on Saturday and it's like midnight. Maybe it's 1 a.m. on Sunday and we're watching college football final and Matt Berry and the boys are up there talking, saying, man, where was Texas? They've been playing so well recently and they just didn't show up. It was a true Bueller moment. They were not in attendance. That can't be any situation you find yourself in for Texas. That's not the sign of a good culture. Good cultures are consistent. It's what Steve Sarkisian has worked hard to implement That can't be the case. That would be a successful season if they're able to avoid those. Now, I sprinkled this on here now because I think it's important for how you feel to end the year now. I need a New Year's Six Bowl victory. Need a New Year's Six Bowl victory. All right? I need that for it to be a successful season for Texas. And most of that is optics. Most of that is how you feel trending to the SEC. If you go to a New Year's Six Bowl and you lose, like, it'd be great to make it. It'd be really hard to say it's a failure, but I think you absolutely call it a success if you were to win the New Year's Six Bowl. Now, here's another thing we're not talking about. Texas has got a number 3 class on campus from the 2023 cycle that includes Arch Manning. So regardless of how this year goes, there's going to be reason for optimism as long as Arch Manning's on campus. I think that's worth considering. But those things for me, I think, would make up a successful season for Texas. The mission is clear, but a failure if you don't win the Big 12, but still winning your Six Bowl. I'm not here to make excuses for anybody in Austin. That's just my 2 cents on it. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.